to interrupt. Hello, welcome to the Drama Book Show at the Drama Book Shop. I'm David Regano. I'm the host of our official podcast. If you're not aware, you are at a recording of our official Drama Book Shop podcast, the Drama Book Show. If you're not following us already, you can get us wherever you get your podcasts. We are distributed through the Broadway Podcast Network, but if you get your podcasts on Apple Music or Google or wherever you get your podcasts, we'll be on there. Please do also follow us on social media. We are at Drama Book Show Podcast, and you all have to go on the Eventbrite to get your reservation for tonight. So if you follow us on Eventbrite, you'll always know when we have an event coming up. So tonight we are here for the vinyl release of Melissa Errico's Sondheim in the City. So before Melissa comes out to sing, I'm going to tell you a few things that you already know about Melissa. Melissa is an actress and a girl singer. And she has starred in such Broadway shows as My Fair Lady, Amour, Dracula, and we want to make sure that, I asked upstairs, I wanted to make sure that we got every Sondheim that she's been in, outside of the numerous concerts, but the very first revival of Sunday in the Park with George, Passion off Broadway, Into the Woods in concert, and at Encore's Do I Hear a Waltz, very seldom done, Sondheim and Richard Rodgers show. So I'm not going to make you wait anymore because you all came here to hear her sing. Please help me in welcoming Melissa Errico.
I know this grocery clerk, I'm prepossessing. Some think the boy's a jerk, they have my blessing. But when he starts to move, he aims to please, which only goes to prove that sometimes good thing going. It's not that nothing went wrong. Some angry moments, of course, but just a few, and only moments, no more, because we knew we had this good thing going. And if I wanted too much, was that such a mistake at the time? You never wanted enough, alright, tough. I don't make that a crime. And while it's going along, you take for granted some love will wear away. We took for granted a lot, but still I say it could have kept on growing instead of just kept on. We had a good thing going. And if I wanted too much, was that such a mistake at the time? You never wanted enough, alright, tough. I don't make that a crime. And while it's going along, you take for granted some love will wear away. We took for granted a lot, but still I say it could have kept on growing instead of just kept on. We had a good thing Thank you so much. All right, David, here we are in your beautiful
Right.
shop. I kind of grew up in this little place, but it was kind of upstairs, too. Yeah, the original
This is
drama
the
book.
fourth one.
This is the fourth one, I see.
So
I
there've
see.
been a few.
Yeah, it was always like destination heart, to get to the drama book shop. So here we are. So,
Here
hey.
we are. Yeah,
Invite
let's
Mr.
bring
Rob
in.
Mathis on the stage. The
We've got
great
a
Rob
couple of
Mathis,
other
my
guests.
producer. Are we sharing a mic?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
cool.
then Ted and I will share a mic.
We need you to talk.
No, not at all, not at all. I did it already.
So we've got with you Rob Mathis, who's the producer of the
Producer of the
album.
album and arranger of a lot of the songs, like The Good Thing Going and so many other songs, as well as it's kind of divided, I guess. Do you think you divided the tasks between arranging? Half you and then
I
maybe
gave
Ted
more
Firth?
to Ted,
Yeah.
because Ted is Ted.
Ted is Ted. So Ted Firth on the piano is also an arranger, so they're both the arrangers of the album.
So, to start out, and first off, what gorgeous arrangements and what beautiful performances.
Bless you.
So, what made you want to do this Steve in the City album, and why now in particular?
Well, first thing that the first match that was lit really in this was the pandemic, was everything shutting down and the city going quiet, and the kind of inquiry that I did in that, just from thinking about it right away. And then I was asked by one of my favorite nightclubs to reopen the club when the pandemic was ending. And I was thinking about the honor of that, the opportunity to bring people back together, to get the stage happening again, that beautiful nightclub. And I started to think, well, what would I do? I'm not the same person. None of us are the same. What would I want to sing about? What do people want to hear about? And what might be important to sing about and fun as well? And I thought about New York City itself. And so I did a concert at that nightclub called Melissa Sings Her, New York. Ted was in the band and led the band, and we had an amazing time. We had a uniquely wonderful time. And many encores after that, and lots of interesting New Yorkers were coming as well. One of them is in the audience right now, the great ballerina and leader in the dance world, and New York City ballerina, New York City ballet dancer, and a great human being is actually in the audience, I noticed, Deborah Wingert. So people like her, and I love having you here, of course. The beauty of New York, which she in some ways exemplifies for sure, creativity, uniqueness, and the discipline, and the things that are really possible in this beautiful town. So anyway, so we had these wonderful people coming. Donna McKechnie showed up because I started it as to give me somebody to, I don't think I said to sing for, I may have, I don't know, I don't think so. So she was there, and it just got exciting. We had some of the Yankees come at some point, like it grew. It's a little bit of thing. So we had this wonderful experience in New York show. And then Mr. Sondheim passed. And there was a lot of music already in the show, that show, about my family. My family came over from Italy in the late 1800s. This beautiful picture, which the podcast audience will not be able to see, was a wonderful, beautiful, and original. For the first time, I took it out of my mother's house. It's an original photograph of my Aunt Rose, who was a Ziegfeld girl. So I grew up in a family with Ziegfeld stories and the Ziegfeld original artist in it, and my grandmother was a lyric soprano. I thought a lot about their dreams when they came over from Italy. My father's family too, Italian. Some of them went to Argentina, some came to America. So I thought a little bit about the Follies, the fact that I grew up in a house of Follies at the New York show. The idea of these theaters being torn down, what that meant to Sondheim, what it meant to my life. So suddenly, my life and his songs seemed to merge, and then when he passed, I felt like New York, to me, a big part of New York had died for me. I felt the great loss, that the city didn't even mean as much to me without him, that he had defined it in so many ways. So then I thought about that show, and I thought about turning that show into an all Sondheim concept. And that's what we're talking about today. It's my inquiry into New York, it's my tribute to Stephen Sondheim, and it's my own life. It's a palimpsest, as they say. It's an overlapping of my life, his work. And then, of course, there is this look at New York itself. This is not a cast album. My goal is not to sing from merrily from these songs as those characters, as much as it is to what is it about New York and a New York person, the loneliness, the faltering relationships, the sex, in the first song, which was the sex and the Follies. But there's so much in this album that interests me about what it is to be a New Yorker. So it's all those things. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk to you about what the set list was, how you came up with the set list and making it for the show, because you do a number of cut songs. Can That Boy Foxtrot was cut from Follies originally.
Well, being a showgirl myself, I was drawn to some of that in the Follies uniquely because I felt so attached to the idea of Follies and the promise of the arts, the promise of a showgirl's life with all of its, disappointments, but never disillusioned, really. You're always illusioned. My grandmother and her sister had been knocked around, but they were never disillusioned. Disenchanted either. They were just beat up a little bit by life, disappointed, missed it. My grandmother was always wanted to sing more. Aunt Rose had a rough life, but they had that enchantment. And so I did look at Follies a lot. I have a lot of great friends like Ed Bacher, a friend of mine, who gives me some tips sometimes about music that was cut, or layers and layers of cut songs. We're like jazz fans, who always want the alternate takes. Chet Baker, this alternate take or that alternate take. But theater people like me and my friend Ed and so many of my friends, we're cut song people.
Yeah.
Do you know that Shy was cut from My Fair Lady, for example? Like that's, so you don't know that. So I sing that at my concerts a lot. And it was the other, I could have danced all night. And Ted and I do that a lot. So I look into cut music, and I think the digging process is also so indicative, really, of a New York fanatic like me. And I thought that's also part of the story, is that there are people who love Sondheim so much that they'll just dig and dig and dig all day and all night.
And I'm one of those people, and the only song on this album that I didn't know, and I have to ask you where it comes from, is the very first song of the album, Dawn.
It's an unpublished, no, it's not unpublished, it was an unproduced film. And you know what, I'm blanking now on the film. Can you look that up in there? I know that. It's an unpublished film.
Singing Out Loud.
Singing Out Loud. That's right, Singing Out Loud. It was a film that was never made. And the reason I started the album with it, by the way, there's another song that is still to come, which would be a bonus track as well. So a good deal of digging. Some of this digging, by the way, happened with Michael Mitnick, who was due to be here tonight. He just had the baby.
Joyously.
He had a baby today. His wife gave birth today to a beautiful baby named Bee. So Michael Mitnick is a great intellectual, great friend of Sondheim's, and he just won Stephen Sondheim's chaise in the auction. The chaise that Sondheim was lying down on in all the pictures in which he wrote all his great musicals. Yeah, you notice that he's always reclining. That's a famous chaise. There is no more famous chaise to us. So Michael Mitnick is home with his new baby on the chaise. And he's so sorry he won't be here, but he's going to teach with me Sondheim course at the 92nd Street Y in October.
Wonderful.
Do some master classes together. So you'll get Michael again if you came for him. So Michael is also, he knows everything about Sondheim. He was able to send me papers and pieces of paper from Williams College, things nobody's ever seen, demos and really weird stuff. And Sondheim was a young man, an 18-year-old, 19-year-old talking into a tape recorder, and I have all this stuff. And I honored all of it, and all of it was curated for New York themed shows and New York inspired shows, or like Anyone Can Whistle, a bit of an imaginary town, a Brigadoon-like Manhattan, but also we use that as, this is, Melissa's Sondheim in the City is not necessarily always literally Manhattan, as much as an imaginary city, a metropolis. Sondheim, though, lived in New York. Michael told me a lot about it. He lived in a 20-block radius from birth to death. He loved Manhattan in every regard, and I listened to a lot of his BBC interviews all year, and I was interested. He liked New Yorkers because he liked people who were troubled. He liked people. He liked people where he could hear the rumblings beneath the surface. I think I quote him, the rumblings beneath the surface. And he said, I'm okay with people who are straightened out, but I like people like neurotic people. So there's a lot of neurotic energy that I thought about, what is a neurotic, and the song Anyone Can Whistle came to mind in song choosing. Because so many of us, or so many people that we know, are so smart, and have so much mastery over so much. But they, in other ways, like it says in the song, I can read Greek, I can do all these amazing things, but on another level, they're utterly helpless.
What's hard is simple.
What's hard is simple. What's natural becomes hard. So it's hard to be natural sometimes in Manhattan, or Manhattan people. You might relate to that. So Anyone Can Whistle. Tapping into that neurotic, tender Manhattan person, a great master at things, but full of fragility underneath. So those are some of the ideas of why we chose it. Dawn, I opened the album with Dawn, and of course, by the way, every idea, as you see, I have a lot of ideas, every idea that I brought to this beautiful producer on my right, he thought about, he acknowledged. I said, it's not a Sondheim record as much as it's an urban record. It's about the city, it's about Sondheim's psychology. It's about Manhattan itself. It's about the pandemic ending. So Dawn is all about the city wiped clean. And what I was hoping is that I would be a part of the conversation of restarting the town. In my own way, in the places that Ted and I have had the great gift to be so often, invited to sing so many beautiful places. But the gift, of starting again, just the idea of starting again, and it's all about the city at dawn.
Yeah.
Clean and untroubled and unpolluted, if you will. Unpolluted breath that we all get to take now. So that's why that song, and it's a beautiful song
It's
too.
gorgeous.
Yeah. Do you want to explain how, maybe when I say like dawn and stuff like
she's
how
not.
do you...
She's not allowed to say this, but I will. I do think if you listen to one thing, if you're only allowed to listen to one thing from this record, Melissa and Ted on Anyone Can Whistle is insane. And we had 3 great takes of that. But I have a friend in England who writes for Gramophone magazine. His name is Edward Seckerson, terrific writer. He actually wrote the first biography I read of Mahler, if you do. He called me this week and he said it's the greatest version of Anyone Can Whistle that he's heard in his life. So
I'm going to see him in
yes,
London next
yes.
week. Yeah. I'm on his podcast.
Dawn is an interesting one because one of the things that I learned, an early Sondheim arrangement I did, was Not While I'm Around for Renee Fleming and Bryn Terfel, of all people, which could be dangerous, these big voices.
Yeah.
But I heard through the grapevine that Sondheim was pleased because it didn't really mess with the harmony. And apparently that was a thing for him, because the harmony is such an important part of the music.
Yeah.
I mean, the lyric we all know about, and actually I think he writes very humble things.
Agreed.
I think that whoever said that was roasted over a pit in Merrily We Roll Along wonderfully.
Yes.
But with Dawn, we had a challenge because I don't know, Melissa, when he wrote it, but when he wrote Dawn, he was in that mode which occasionally you get in the filigrees of Into the Woods, the title song, where the invention is endless. If you could teach a college course on just the counterpoint of the Into the Woods piano part. It is extraordinary. And because of the way Tunick orchestrates it, and it all works. With Dawn, he almost enjoyed his laboratory too much. He went crazy. The harmonies go all over the place. So for me, what I wanted to do is I saw in the song as an arranger that it is as beautiful a song as he's ever written. And it was perfect for Melissa. And the harmonies were extraordinary. Ravel would have been thrilled to write it. But it just needed a little bit of, rearranging. And so it would just kind of be a little bit more seamless, a little warmer, and slightly less spiky. You never want to remove the spiky from Sondheim. But I just arranged it in a way that I was thrilled that Adam Gottlieb said it does sound like Dawn. It does sound like the sun coming up. And Melissa, of course, sings the hell out of it.
So it seems like I also just should, before we get too far forward, just to mention that this is our second Sondheim CD together, me and Rob and Ted. We made Sondheim Sublime a few years ago, which was a more inward-facing, as it were, album about the softer, empathic, like you were saying, the beauty of dawn made me remember. There is what I call a sublime quality sometimes to Sondheim. Something almost more than poetical. It's sublime. It's like God sang it. God wrote it, if you will. So we did a record called Sondheim Sublime, where we looked at some of the philosophical, empathic, loving, and inward-facing. So this was more of our, not that we're making it a party or a jazz party, but it was energy that I was hoping that I could pull out of, and the rhythms, that Rob did that sound. And the drummer, tell us about the drummer, because we knew that we were making this a Manhattan record, we needed rhythm, we wanted it to have this rhythmic life. I wanted another 100 people, for example, to be me when I was my daughter's age. She's sitting here right in front of my first daughter is here. And when I was 12, I discovered the Long Island Railroad. And it took me here to Oz. It took me to the drama book shop, actually, and I kid you not, the first drama book shop, I'm sure. And I used to walk these aisles and look at every Samuel Friend, everything. This was my church, really. I loved this store. And I got on that Long Island Railroad on those trains, and I said to Rob, I don't even want it to feel stressed. Like another 100 people, company and all the anxiety of New York from that show, whatever it needed to serve there. It served for me the thrill of this circus place, all these people on the phone, all these people maybe deceiving each other. I even like that, just everybody's like lying to each other and saying I love you, and I was excited about Manhattan people, and so Rob said after he got to know the Follies, he's thinking the jazz, he's thinking this pop thing. Melissa has this feeling of like a girl in the 70s and 80s, like coming out of not the 70s. I was coming out of my mother then. But coming out of the subway, with this great anticipation, this thrill. I was the Alice in Wonderland of this place for myself, and Peter Pan or something, or Dorothy. And so he said, we need a drummer. So tell him about the drummer, how you were thinking, and maybe we could get Louis Nash. He said, maybe, because someone like Louis Nash.
Well, I just do want to say that one of the great treasures of New York City is Ted Firth.
Oh.
And
Well,
I honestly think that he's one of the best arrangers we have, and pianists. And so it's always good to go with Ted when you can. And we had a number of drummers. There are a lot of great drummers out there that love Melissa Errico. One of them is one of the most famous drummers in history. It's just Steve Gadd. And Steve would have done this, but years ago, I would be working at Barnes & Noble, or hopefully the Drama Bookshop, if it weren't for Phil Ramone. Phil Ramone, who also produced Melissa's...
no, not my debut record, the Michelle Legrand.
Michelle Legrand record.
Yeah.
But Phil gave me my first start as an arranger and player, and he did a record for Natalie Cole years ago, and the drummer on that record was Louis Nash. And Louis has played with everybody. He's one of the leading jazz drummers in the country. He's now teaching, but he's also touring all the time. He's amazing. And I'll never forget doing the Natalie Cole record with him. And I was playing piano and a little guitar, and Louis just basically took over the session because the groove was so deep. And so we have Ted, right? You can't lose with Ted. And then we have the great David Fink on bass, who produced Melissa's last record.
The film noir record, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can't lose with those two. And I said, Ted, if you could have your druthers, if it was Gadd or Nash or this, and Ted just simply said, Louis Nash, please, Louis Nash. And I called Louis Nash, and he was thrilled to come. He lit the record on fire along with Melissa.
Yeah, Louis, he didn't know Sondheim much. He didn't.
No,
he
had,
loved it.
Of course, all of us.
You don't know that,
right?
Yeah.
But
it's not his normal thing. Right?
Yeah, and my goal for the record, my dream, and I think we pulled it off, is how there are so many amazing Sondheim records done, but what Melissa offers me and Ted a kind of dream, which is that she has the ability to live inside these songs. You talk about character. She's Melissa, but she lives these songs. There was not one take in the studio where Melissa didn't go into a different place. Every single take, it was as if it was the last take. But as a producer, I wanted not to rely too much on the theatrical approach sonically. A lot of two-beat. I wanted to try to ground it with, a swing pocket, a groove, and also a pop patina. Coming from Laura Nyro and some of those great 70s records, the singer-songwriter records. I didn't want to go genre hopping, but I definitely wanted it to feel rich and like kind of a great pop record with jazz overtones. I'm not sure we made that because it's incredibly deep, but I'm so thrilled at how it turned out because it swings as much as it can swing because of that man's arrangements on things like Uptown, Downtown, and Foxtrot. But we've got Louis Nash swinging his tail off and Melissa swinging her tail off. So it was a really, as a producer, I just kind of, I played some guitar and did some arrangement, but I was in there going, yeah, there you go.
So cool.
So,
Thank you.
Rob, before we get away from you too quickly, you come from the pop and rock world.
Yes, a very strange upbringing.
Uh-huh.
Dad playing Dylan in the front room, mom teaching Chopin.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a Mahler fanatic who discusses Radiohead with her brother.
Uh-huh.
So it's here.
Mike Errico, in the house. Yeah.
Songwriting professor.
And artist. That's another story. But yeah, so I do, if I'm gonna put on a record at home, it's probably first gonna be Joni and Radiohead before it's Mahler. But Mahler's next, and then sometimes after that. So I have the language,
Right.
but yes, I'm.
So, do you approach an album like this, and especially when Melissa comes to you with a set list, thinking different from, like, say, a musical theater compilation album?
I
Or
don't.
how do you approach
never
something
want
like
to.
this?
One of my favorite scores in the history of music.
Uh-huh.
I put it up there with The Rite of Spring, with Mahler 6 is every note in Sweeney Todd.
Can't disagree.
So it's a masterpiece. So I would never want to try to force something into a pop box or, God forbid, water down any of the harmonies, because Sondheim is, heaven harmonically. However, to inform the musicianship on the record and to ground some of it in a pop sense, I think does in no way waters it down.
Right.
Or tries to, we're going to use this groove on. Let's bring a drum machine in on Uptown. There's none of that going on. But to have a little bit of a sense of it,
Yeah.
I think is good for the music.
Yeah, it's been great to sing live, actually. It's been so fun to bring this to life with a band and with guests, and we've done it at Birdland. We've done 17 performances in New York City, and we've been all over the place, and now we're going to Vegas and all kinds of places. The New Jersey Performing Arts Center, we have a whole calendar coming up. So to get to do it in all different formats, I even did this entire record as just guitar voice with J.C.
right.
Maillard and his,
Yes.
and his percussionist with a Caribbean guitar player. And we did it as if we were sitting on the steps in Washington Square Park and in the 70s. And we looked at it as a whole other record, actually.
Yeah.
It was interesting, the material we played with it that one night, which was Sondheim's birthday, just because Ted wasn't available. So I came up with a whole other idea that night. But it's hard to live without Ted, ever. So you were saying something that made me think of you and me and how we met even. It may seem like a little like, how did these two
different
people,
worlds.
right, like how do we know each other? How did we, can I tell him how I met you? I met you.
The Bono thing, right?
It was at the Bono thing, which was everyone was singing Cole Porter, and it was during the Grammys, and it was in a Music Cares event. It was during one of those parties leading up to the Grammys. And I was there with Arif Martin, who had produced my first record on EMI Records. Bruce Lundvall, a great, what'd you call it, A&R guy.
President
President of Blue Note Records.
Legendary jazz record.
Legendary jazz name. Okay, so Bruce came to see me in High Society, and he said, I hear jazz in your voice. I was in my 20s, and he said, I hear jazz, I feel like you could be a jazz artist or do some jazz. And so he brought me into his life. He gave me Yvonne Lynn songs, he gave me Ballad of a Sad Young Man. I'm trying to think of his first songs. Beautiful stuff, and there was Not While I'm Around was always in my life. And he set me up to meet Shelley Berg, Alan Broadbent, and Alan Pasqua in LA, because I was doing some television in LA. So I started to do this mix of jazzy people meets Melissa, and my beautiful brother, Mike Errico himself, such an accomplished singer-songwriter. He gave me singer-songwriter material. He wrote some songs for me, well, he did. He wrote me a song, and we adapted one of his other great songs, I Still Love You. But he also gave me some ideas, and I would bring those to the jazz guys. Anyhow, as that was happening, and I was exploring singer-songwriter material, some theater material in the hands of jazz people, I went to an event, and I saw Bono singing Cole Porter, and it was so good, and it was so thrilling, and there was this man at the piano, and I could tell he was running the whole thing. And I had just starred in a Cole Porter musical, and yet I was hearing this thing, the Italians, have a soup called the bollito misto, where everything delicious is just chucked in a soup and it will come out amazing. It was like a bollito misto of like beauty and heart and sophistication, and everything was still there. All the intelligence of the lyric.
There was that record called Red Hot Blue, which was one of the earliest kind of benefit records done, and it was really cool arrangements. And Phil Ramone put an evening of it together to honor Bono as the music hits person.
I see.
And you were there with the Reef.
I was there with the Reef and Nora Jones, and so when I was at dinner with them, and the wonderful table, the EMI crowd and stuff. But the way it actually happened is I could feel this man at the piano in your hat, and you had this coat and stuff, and you're all kind of slim now, but you weren't as slim, right?
Slim maybe
But you were like amazing to me. I was like, who is this man? And I stood up. And I actually, because I was afraid the moment would pass. Who is this? Who is he? Who is he at the piano? Who is that? I was just so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I got your name, and I think we met that night. But then right after that, Phil Ramone set it up that I sing for Jimmy Webb at the induction in the the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And which is also weird that I got to do that. It was another jump into another world. I was there with Billy Joel. I was hanging backstage with all these Sheryl Crow and all these people, and I'm like, hi, I'm in a Broadway show.
And I knew Mike.
I wanted to say that. So you were at the piano, and I came over. We were about to rehearse, didn't we? And you just turned to me, and before we started, the first sentence out of the mouth of the person I'm desperate to work with, and so thrilled that I got this thing. Phil Ramone didn't know, by the way, I was desperate to work with you. It was luck. It was all luck. And you turned around and you said, Melissa Errico, you Mike Errico's sister? I was like, I'm Mike Errico's sister. So, thank you, Mike. So, anyway, we had a wonderful time doing that. And, I always believed that there was some way I could
Check out Mike Errico's record.
Records!
Yeah, he's got new music coming out now, too. And all kinds of stuff. So we were friends, and I had children. I was working with Michel Legrand, and I was working with Phil Ramone, again, doing this mix of jazz. I was working with Steve Gadd, and David Fink came into my life, the bass player. And I had this beautiful time working with Michel, and he said, Melissa, there is no genre, you will swing, you will feel, you will never, and he says, I love how you sing, you never breathe. He would just say crazy things. We had this beautiful relationship, me and Michel. I did his Broadway show, and I went on and traveled with him, made this symphonic album with him, just a beautiful, beautiful time. And while I was doing this incredible album, my husband and I realized that life's going great, but we forgot to have children, right? And I was like, and then I'm in the middle of this orchestral album and everything, and Victoria, who's now in the audience, this is amazing. Victoria, was, well, not to embarrass her, she conceived that summer in the midst of Michel Legrand's grandeur, and so this beautiful, process is happening. And the first album that came to mind when I was holding Victoria in my arms was My Life Has Just Taken a Big Turn. I love all this, but now I feel nothing more than what women are feeling, and mothers and children and late nights and nursing and caring and all of the vulnerability of that. And I started to imagine singing to my other mother friends, and I started a mother's community in New York City, another microcosm of this album in a way. There was 27 native languages in the group. It's still going, it's called the Bowery Babes. There are 5,000 or more women in it now. And so I was thinking about all these New York women and all these bellies walking around. And then we all had our babies in Victoria, one of the first Bowery babes. And I was kind of feeling something, and I thought, well, it's not what we had in mind, but I called Rob Mathis. And we made a funky lullabies album. And we had a wonderful time. I piano worked with my brother and brought in music from all different places, from American Songbook all the way to Tom Petty and all the kinds of beautiful things. Peter, Paul, and Mary's song. I know the whole family of the Yarrow family and all of the, Noel's family too. Peter, Paul, and Mary, very close friends of mine. Real New Yorkers too. So I had some folk music. How do I know them?
Or had you yet at that point done Sunday in the Park and sung Children in Art?
Yes. I did Sunday in the Park like 2 or 3 years before. Sunday in the Park happened because I worked with Michelle Legrand, because that was James Lapine directing. And James brought Sondheim into my life. I really like James Lapine. I get on with James really well. So James Lapine brought Sondheim into my life. Sondheim came to see Amour. So it was all the same year. It was all happening. Amour was beautiful. The Tony nomination was amazing. Michelle Legrand and everybody got nominated. It was a beautiful show, which I think someday, hopefully, I'll be the Maria Friedman of that. I'm going to rescue it. Isn't she the best? Maria Friedman, I've worked with her too. She is really the blueprint of a great woman.
I think, I think once you did Sunday, Sondheim was in your bones. And before we did lullabies, I did Not While I'm Around.
But as a demo, just sent to me as an email.
Yes. And I don't know whether you said Sondheim
And accustomed
is
to
now
his
a part
face.
of me.
It was a custom.
But Custom was the first thing we did because of her tie to My Fair Lady. We still have to put that on in summer.
People are going to love
because
that.
that is a lovely version. But Not While I'm Around was really was huge for us. And I must say, again, she's not allowed to say this.
But explain, it was a demo that you just sent an email.
It was a demo that I had done for her, and it's on Sublime, and it was on the top 10 things to listen to after he passed in the New York Times. It was on there. I was so proud of that because that was the first thing we did together, and it was me playing piano, which was not bad, but on the record, it's big for me.
Talk a little bit about meeting Sondheim and the friendship that you formed with him.
Well, the first time I met Sondheim was at the Kennedy Center. He came to rehearsal for Sunday in the Park with George. And I knew that I was playing a painter's model. I knew a lot about Seurat. I had been an art history major at Yale. And I knew a lot about Impressionism. And I thought the only thing was that I thought I could add to it, or that, not that it was missing, but was nudity. I thought, a model would be a bather. In the Impressionist time, people were always taking their clothes off. They were in a basin. They had their rear end against the bathtub. They were dancers. But it wasn't dancers. It was just the human form was so important to Impressionism. So I was in rehearsal, and Sondheim was there. And the first day we were rehearsing for Color and Light, and I had already thought of this at the airport. And I said, "Oh, by the way, I think we should do the whole thing in a bathtub, and I should be totally naked." And it just means if you could just have to change a few lyrics. I had no idea. I was so young. You see, I would never have done that now. But I had the innocence of youth. And I said, and he did it. He did it. He's a tough guy. He hears you when you have a thought, and he said, okay. And so,
I think if Streisand can ask him to change some lyrics, and if Shirley MacLaine can ask him to change some lyrics,
Streisand's biggest fan is in the audience.
Then you can ask him.
Yeah,
to
so I
change
did ask him.
Wouldn't you say the gift he's given all artists is an astonishing gift? Because not everybody does this. He always encouraged everyone to make the material theirs,
Yeah.
and to have it to approve all these different things, all these different treatments of the song is such a gift to the artistic community.
Well, it's true. By the way, I wasn't just wanting to take my clothes off. I just clarify that in that scene, she's preparing to go to the Follies, by the way. Interestingly, I'll be in the Follies. She can't wait to go to party. She's going to a party with her intense boyfriend, and he's doing the painting over there, but he's going to stop, and I'm going to be gorgeous, and we're going to go out, and we're going to have the best time, right, George? Right, George? And then he has, and she's getting ready, and I thought, while he's painting, I would be there in bubbles looking at him, right, George? And he'd be looking down, and I'm trying to get him in the mood, right? And that is the most heartbreaking sequence, because it ends, of course, with him saying, "We're not going." And she says, "What?" And he says, "I have to finish the hat." That's where we get finishing the hat. And he doesn't choose that night. And that breaks her in half. It's like the last thing it's probably happened 100 million times. And that night that does it. I get chills thinking about it. And I thought if I had nothing on, and I had just come out of the tub, and I was painting itself in life, and he was looking at it, right? And then I put the robe on. We did it all very discreetly. It was really dangerous, by the way, to be naked at the Kennedy Center Opera House. It was dangerous because I was in water with no clothes on with a microphone. So they put the adapter in my brain, not my brain, but they put it in my brain. And it had a little microphone. And the microphone, they put it on the right side of my head. And so when I was kicking and doing, "I'll be in the Follies," I wanted to kick Bubbles. And I did, and the audience cheered. It was delicious. And we had pictures to prove it. So I would be sitting in water with Bubbles, and I would take everything off. This stagehand whose job it was to oversee this. We had a nice relationship. I got in the water, and I knew that what I couldn't do when I kicked up the bubbles was get that bubble that touched my microphone, or I'd electrify myself. I'd be electrocuted, or I'd at least electrocute the microphone, and we'd have no more show for 20 minutes or something. So I would always kick and go like this. I turned my head away. I've done that a few times. I have when I was in Dracula, I had to turn my head certain ways to be bitten, also to disguise his fangs going in. So I'm skilled at these head movements. Broadway does so many things to enhance your skills. So anyway, I turned my head, just so, and I never electrocuted myself. But it was beautiful, and I would come out of the tub, and then I had the towel preset on the edge, so I would sit there. The audience would see, a sort of a cello-like shape. And then I would lift the towel as I got out, just so, and step around. Yeah. And then I would be so excited, and I'd look up at him painting. He was up there on this ladder, and he'd come down, and no, I don't think he came down. He stayed up there because he had the hat to do. And he just, I have to finish the hat. I remember I closed the jewelry case, took my earrings off slowly, put them down, and left. And so I was embarrassed, and it made me more embarrassed to be undressed. Yeah. And I know in reading Sondheim's book and everything, they were exploring doing bathers from the very beginning. So that was some comfort that I wasn't just this crazy girl, an Italian actress with the Cuban guy and the Raul Esparza, the Cuban Italian Sunday in the park. The clothes, they had to control these kids.
But also for being in good Sondheim company, I know that our amazing late great Marin Mazey had her Mike Packey in her wig when she was nude in the original production of Passion.
Pretty cool. I put my sunflowers just last week at PS 212, Marin sunflowers. Yeah, I went and I did them in person, and I sang to the kids in her honor. So Passion was an intense experience, but I had wonderful times working with Sondheim in all of these shows, but Passion, one thing that comes to mind was the Zitzprobe, when I was singing, "Wouldn't that be beautiful?" And I guess I said, "Wouldn't," and he stopped me in front of the whole orchestra and the cast. He says, "You never sing wouldn't. There's no vowel quality between the N and the T. It's not wouldn't. It's wouldn't." I said, "Right, but that's an absence." And I said this in front of everybody. He said, "Yes, it's an absence." I said, "Well, how do you sing in absence?" "You do," he said. I said, "But an apostrophe is a silence." He says, and he stopped and he said, "Yes." I said, "So you want me to sing the silence?" Yes. There's a spot in your nose or something. It was kind of like that I discovered, and I went back and I did it, and it was actually, what did that be? It was like a thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, he was so happy, right? And then I kept singing, and there was another one, and I lit up, and I was getting it right. And then there was apostrophes everywhere in passion. And then other people were singing apostrophes, and I would look at him, and he loved my attention to everything. And so I would light up about every apostrophe, and he was delighted. We were in love, you know. So that was just those type of, that kind of attention to detail, and the challenge. That's a silence, yes it is. And then, you know, so all of that.
He's very exact.
He's very exact, and it's so fun though when you, everything's so fun, you know. Like,
And you were exact. I mean, she was.
I felt that was an incredible experience. Like,
Just her recording the record in terms of the attention to the text.
Our record, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean.
Thank you.
You know, I think you've been proud, and I mean, so many of the great artists that sing his work know that you. I mean, it's like our Shakespeare, New York Shakespeare. But you were amazing, Melissa. Just, I mean, I would go out and discuss what you know. Everything had to be. She had to live it. You had to live every moment. And
well, I have Phil Hall too to thank. I mean, there is a person in my life named Phil Hall. He's a music director himself, a piano player, and a great voice coach, but also does arrangements and just does everything. A great musician, and he's my coach. And in the last 5 years, though I've known him for 15, and I think he prepared me for the Passion audition. And many, many big auditions in my life. I would come and say, oh, Phil Hall, I need, but I don't just come to him anymore. I come to him all the time. We decided a few years ago that the best way to proceed as a chanteuse or as an interpretive singer is to sing all the time and to pay attention to the lyrics very deeply, so that all the little things just are natural. And so we work together 10 hours a week or more, and we have for years. We talk all the time, so the attention that he's given me, and he paid to the text and would remind me, even tonight, I think I got it to make sure that while it's going along, you take for granted, some love will wear away. We took for granted a lot, but still I say. It's not and still I say, it's but still I say. And today, for some reason, just on my way over here, I sang it. And he was, no. So he nurtured every pebble on the beach here. It became a beach, but it's made of infinite pebbles.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I don't know if I should.
This is Rosa Puzo, one of our group.
Well, I love Sondheim, and I fell in love with him, I'm going to be honest, the Broadway album, Barbra Streisand, right? I played that over.
Great album.
Okay, I played that over. I mean, my ex-husband was like, can you please stop, okay? And I said...
Is that why he's your ex-husband?
Probably. That's right. Yeah, so yeah. Enter Streisand, right? So anyway, in Sondheim. So, but you bring that back to me. So you bring her and Sondheim, for some reason, it's like I'm connected, and I don't want to cry. But every song, and some of the songs resonate so well.
Bless you, thank you.
So thank you.
Bless you. Well, to be honest, I feel he saved my life, or speaks on behalf of my life, and I don't know why. I love Michel Legrand, I love many of the composers, but there's something in Steve's work that keeps catching me. Maybe all the complexities. I have a lot that goes on in my mind, and inwardly and quietly, every character has multiple feelings happening simultaneously. Nothing is simple. It's not, oh, what a beautiful morning. It's, oh, what a beautiful morning at the end of a terrible night. Or something else. It's something else, you know? And it contains me somehow, and it helps me organize my feelings. And it also, I think, is held so beautifully by Ted Firth when we work together. We explore feelings. It's like emotional jazz, if you will. Like, he'll play something, I'll feel something, And like, I'll think to myself, this is why I live, this to quote passion.
Yeah.
I mean, the work I do with Ted, like day in and day out, is so real. And he is so, like, he's such a safe place and such a unique person that there's, you know, it used to make me crazy that he doesn't write anything down. We have music. He's such a beautiful.
We're trying to
we have
clone
so
it.
much fun. I mean, I enjoy so many musicians. He doesn't want me to feel dependent, but we do have a beautiful time. And thank you, Rose. It does, as you see, I match your tears.
That's right.
And I do want to ask Ted, what is your process, both as a musical director and as an arranger, when you're rehearsing with Melissa? How do you create this? Oh, thank you. How do you create that kind of safe space in a rehearsal to be as vulnerable as a performer has to be, and then to try things? And how much of the arranging happens before you get into rehearsal, and how much of it happens between the two of you in rehearsal?
I think that the most informative part of the arranging process for me is when I hear someone sing the song we'd be playing for them the first time. Because as soon as I hear their voice with the song, most of the time, definitely most of the time, things immediately start to occur to me as far as what we might do. Just hearing somebody's voice singing that a particular lyric and melody is generally puts me in mind of things. I love that much more than I'd much rather do that as the first step in the process rather than having somebody say, "Hey, can you bring in something?"
Right.
I'd much rather start that way. So I think we do start that way most of the time. And Melissa, of course, is an amazing interpreter, and I've worked with her so long that I know we have a very intuitive relationship musically.
Yeah.
And so with most of these, I think I just played through them and things started to occur to me. And I also wanted to say that, you know, Melissa and Rob have been very kind in crediting me for playing on the record and everything, and I appreciate that. But really, one of the things I've been kind of fascinated watching tonight is listening to you talk together, because that's it shows why the record works so well. Is because is the relationship that you two have creatively is so you are so on the same page with everything, and it's really that's why I think the record works so well, because because Rob is bilingual. So Rob can.
Is that a metaphor?
Well, maybe Rob really is bilingual. Maybe Rob is. I don't know how many languages Rob. But no, yes, this is metaphorical speaking. But
one of them is music.
Well, I don't even. What it is that there's a. So I've played on a good number of records through the years, and record producers run the gamut as far as where they come from in the music world and how they operate. But you get an awful lot of like producers that the band will do a take and we'll get done with the take and we'll be sitting out there in a room, you get your headphones on, and the producer will come on and talk back, and the producer will say, "Yeah, that was pretty good. But can we do another one? A little more purple this time." And then we'll sit there, not say a thing, and figure out what purple means. And then we'll play it again. Sometimes get it right, sometimes not. But Rob can speak with the instrumentalists on a date in very nuts and bolts terms musically that we understand, and yet also communicate with Melissa about the way she views the material, which is not, she understands the nuts and bolts stuff, but I don't think that's generally like in the forefront of where she's approaching it. It's much more about the text. It can be character driven, it can be that kind of thing, and Rob is very good with communicating with her that way, and yet also with the players on the date, being able to express what we need, and that's so. I mean, you guys are very kind to giving me all this credit, but I really do believe that between the two of you, that's why this record works.
Don't try to get out of the next record.
What do you think of it?
So many records in my head, so many.
It's a trio.
I literally have so many albums in my head, you know. We do have a 3 I have a 3 in my mind. Sondheim 3. It'll be a menage a trois. It'll be a threesome. I do have this idea of a part 3 called Consequences. I don't know what that means yet, but I think that's where this is going. I have my Sondheim Sublime, which was part of a certain earlier time in my life, and whatever that was, that beautiful record. It was really a beautiful process to make that. Then this was really the kaleidoscope of New York stories and New York energy, and the fun that we really have with this big band. I mean, we have a big orchestra, we have a big swing band on this, we have 14, brass players. It was incredible. It was like making a big Hollywood extravaganza, really.
And we don't get to do a lot of those records these days.
Yeah.
It's a laptop world. People are making amazing records on laptops. Some of the best pop music is made in little corners of houses, or apartments. But to be able to go to the power station on 53rd Street and get some of the greatest musicians in Manhattan to play, and Melissa to sing, and Ted Firth to play piano. I mean, I did not take it for granted.
And there's something about that is then a collaboration of everyone in the room. It's not you and a track.
Absolutely.
It's you and your music director and every single musician in there.
Yes, and the ideas that Adam Gopnik gave me, that Michael Mitnick brought, the support that I got from Phil Hall. This was an amazing team. Those are the main characters.
I mean, Adam brought the first day we recorded, he brought in the Encyclopedia of New York. Adam Gopnik, the great Adam Gopnik, comes in with the Encyclopedia of New York. And Phil's there looking at the text. And, hopefully Steve was looking down, realizing we were treating it like we were holding the Holy Grail with the greatest musicians in town.
I felt very safe, like it was a sacred experience, and I did something a little naughty, which is I pretended that I could afford his apartment, and I got a booking with the realtor, and I went into his house. I did. I went into his home, and I was thinking that maybe I could get some grant or something, and that I could then protect it from anybody living there, and then there maybe be a museum, and maybe I would get old there, and I could teach there, and I could make sure that they never changed the green wall, and that the sheds would stay. But it didn't. That part didn't work out. But I did go into the house in the process of making this album, and those are my liner notes. If people are going to take the record home tonight, those are the liner notes. The liner notes are about my walking into his home and imagining Victoria, this beautiful girl in the front, my daughter, and her 2 sisters, Patrick McEnroe, my beautiful husband, imagining our lives in his home. Literally imagining myself living in his home, and where would the children eat? Because it didn't look like he cooked very much, He didn't know much about the kitchen or anything. And I was imagining our lives in his space, and that became also a nice trigger for the liner notes to think about New York City and his home. Some of the windows being outward facing to the busy streets, some of the windows facing an interior garden where Katharine Hepburn also lived about the same intimate garden in Turtle Bay. And they had many fights as well.
Yeah, I've heard some story. I think about when he was up late making music with Laura Nero, actually. And her Katharine Hepburn knocking on the door, keep it down.
Katharine Hepburn didn't like that she used her fireplace. And she said, I distrust people who don't like fireplaces. And there was a letter that she sent, imagine, to the super or to the court, saying that she distrusts people who don't like her fireplace. So anyway, the record is also animated with stories and pleasures and notes from Sondheim. I even remember when Ted actually was using the expression most of the time, qualifying things, which I love that Ted said that, but it reminded me when I was finished with a performance of Do I Hear a Waltz, and the stage manager said, would the cast and the crew please come to the stage? And I went to the stage, and it was already packed with so many people that I climbed up on the set. It was a Venetian window, my character's hotel window, and I was up high, and I saw that everyone had gathered because Sondheim had come to give notes. That's what you always hope or fear, is that he would come. And so I saw that famous profile, and there is Sondheim. So I said, well, Melissa, you know him now. You've made a record, come on, relax. And so I said, in front of maybe 175 people, it was packed. I said, hello. And he turned around in front of everybody, and he said, oh, you were wonderful, most of the time. But you see, what he did there is everything. That comma, you were wonderful, comma, most of the time. He qualified it. He made his thought just a little unsure, a little rueful. He made you a little insecure. It's that comma where all of this richness happens.
He sang the silence.
He sang, it's that hinge, between two opposites that is everything. And it's just what makes him, how do I put this? This is what makes him so wonderful to sing most of the time.
Because we talked about a little bit of Sondheim nerding out.
Yes.
And you brought this song up, first loving, again, all of the cut songs. And you brought the song up a couple of times, and it has my personal favorite Sondheim lyric of anything, and that's the song Uptown, Downtown, cut from Follies. My favorite Sondheim rhyme. She sits at the Ritz with her splits of mums and starts to pine for a stein.
With
her village chums,
but with the Schlitz in her midst down in Fitzroy's bar, she thinks of the Ritz. Oh, it's so schizo. Okay, we are now. I now make you mad.
That's just one of the. There was actually one, I meant to bring it with me today and I forgot. I once sat down, because you also have What More Do I Need on this album.
Oh yeah,
and,
my God.
That beautiful arrangement with Who Wants to Live in New York.
Right, yeah.
And I once sat down and color-coded the rhymes to that song. I meant to bring that with me, because they're so intricate.
Yeah.
They're so very intricate, and everything is in exactly the right
Uptown,
place.
Downtown is so good as well, and because there's so much being immortalized here. My very good friend Peter Foley, who recently passed, he said that he put that song on this album, and he died. He's a friend of mine from college. He died surprisingly young, and he said that the quality of the rhyme made him. Just know that he would never be a good lyricist. He said, I just didn't want to quit, but he was a good lyricist. But that was thanks to him. That such a song came into my life.
And again, I don't want to be smarmy with Ted, but for Louis Nash, Ted really used What More Do I Need as a feature for Louis. And that is one of his greatest drum performances, wouldn't you say?
Rob, did I ever tell you the story about kind of how there's a here? No, I got.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, you got it.
It's funny because I was actually when you were talking about Louis before, I hadn't thought about this probably in about a year because we started doing the rhythm tracking just about a year ago. It was like early July, so it was almost this time. And What More Do I Need was, I think, the last thing that I had to arrange, and I had been kind of kicking that thing around for a few weeks. I should go back and see if I can find some demos.
We talked about some of
Like
the
I was
sounds,
goofing around with like some sort of Latin thing or something. Like I kept mocking up demos and then thinking they were terrible, and I was just like, and I was just and I was just kind of like getting burned out on it because I wasn't thinking of anything I thought was good, and I was walking with a friend, just coming out of a rehearsal, and I was sort of speaking out loud, kind of, sort of putting my problems out in the world. And this is a friend who knows this music very well,
And I was just kind of hoping, I was like, maybe he'll say
Call a
something
friend.
that'll be helpful.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm working on this thing, and we're gonna fly in Lewis Nash, one of the world's best jazz drummers. And I said, but I don't know, man, I don't know what we're gonna do with this tune. And he said, I don't know, just make it a feature for Lewis. And that put me out.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Wow.
I thought, because up until that point, I was trying to make it more of a thing where the band, that kind. I was trying to look for like sort of a groove that was maybe sort of off the beaten path. But then once I just realized that, we'll just make it into a thing for Lewis. Just build a sort of a swinging arrangement that just gives him a lot of room to play.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just,
And
It's so
good.
dangerous
It's
and
so
wonderful, and it's all about the deficits of New York. The crappy apartment, the noisy neighbors, the kids upstairs, everything that stinks, and it's just the best place to live.
And of all the tracks he's played on, I would put that up there, the best Lewis Nash performances ever. I mean, it just kills it.
See, this is a perfect example. He's thinking like that. He's thinking, we got Nash, we got the vibe, we got the feature and stuff. But I'm thinking, all this is happening, but it creates chaos, right? It's all drums and chaos, and it's the crane, it's the crane making street repairs. It's the baby upstairs. It's all these. I can't sleep. It's this disgusting apartment with just a little fly, and it's disgusting snow that comes down. It's already brown or gray every time you see it. Got dirty on the way down. Like, how did that happen? It's only New York. Only in New York. But it's what the lyrics are all. It's just madness that we love this town like we do. So when the drums are kicking like that and Ted is going cuckoo, I'm thinking of all those lyrics they become funnier. They become more angular. In that company. It's just like, once I hated this city, now it can't get me down. Slushy, humid, and pretty, what a pretty town. They're all just like going, and it feels rebellious.
Yeah.
It feels like everybody who doesn't get it can leave. If you don't like it, love it, or whatever you want to say. If you can't handle it, then don't be here.
In terms of being here, we could be here
Forever.
all night. No, it's all. But we are gonna have to wrap it up. But you've got one more for us.
A tiny song. Yeah, let's just say goodnight.
All
We've
right.
got a beautiful arrangement by
I'll
Rob.
trade spots with you.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go over here because I thought maybe it'd be nice to end side by side. This is Take Me to the World. Thank you for coming. Let me see the world with clouds. Take me to the world, out where I can push through crowds. Take me to the world, a world that smiles with streets instead of aisles, where I can walk for miles with you. Take me to the world that's real. Show me how it's done. Teach me how to laugh, to feel. Move me to the sun. Just hold my hand whenever we arrive. Take me to the world where I can be alive. Do you want the world? Why then you shall have the world. Ask me for the world again. You shall have
Rob. Thank you, Ted. Thank you all for coming tonight.
What's in your heart?
What's in my heart?
Yes.
It's cold and black and horrible. Why would you ask that? Did you know? You knew. This was a trick question, wasn't it? Yeah, no, it's cold and drafty in there. But thank you for asking. But you're probably asking about the night. Yeah, tonight, of course. Tonight's amazing. I think that was one of the most articulate podcasts I think I've ever heard. Rob Mathis is a friend from molti anni fa, so it was really wonderful to see them both working.
You and your sister got quite a bit of music and grease paint under your bridge.
We kind of do, yeah.
This seems kind
Odd.
of precedent setting. I mean,
Yes.
a double vinyl.
Yeah,
That's freaking awesome.
it is. I wonder who. I bet that's a Rob thing, right? Because an audiophile will be like, "This is nice," but you gotta hear. You don't know it until you hear it on vinyl. And I haven't heard it on vinyl, so it'll be interesting to hear. I bet all the things that make vinyl great will be in evidence in this album. You know.
Growing up, as kids and being impressed having music and the arts, did you and your sister were you tight? Did you commiserate? Did you share stories?
We have commiserated and collaborated many times, including as kids. I mean, my father is a tremendous pianist, and so we had a pretty good family band for a short while. I was on trumpet at the time. She was singing, and Dad. We have to admit, Dad was pretty much holding it down. But we went around and did Christmas carols at friends' houses and stuff like that. And we've also worked on things. And she's sung on my recordings. I've sung and played on hers. So we've been back and forth. We played, toured together, So it's happened for a long time.
You're true compatriots.
Yeah.
In addition to being Subway.
Yes. Yeah. It's been really cool. This was a really great performance. The spoken part, most of the time. I had to throw it in, right? But yeah, it was. I'm so glad I'm here.
So good to see you.
You too.
It was perfect.
Well, I'm going to Paris. He's not. No, he's doing the International Tennis Hall of Fame stuff. Yeah, we're all over the place. Don't try to keep up with us. Do not try. It will not go well. I think my whole ideas came across. I got all my stories and stuff. There you go.
Oh, you're blue.
Getting ready. Does Mark feel like we got?
We'll use blue for this.
Okay. Okay. Dolly. Aw, we're so cute together too.
I took my own picture.
Oh, we did. Hold on. You don't put my name. Yeah, we're here. So. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, you're welcome. That looks, I'm all over the place. Yeah, and the pinky one. Thank you so much.
Touch up.
Yeah, I feel like Don, do you touch up? Yeah. I want to live up to you. Oh, you're so glad. Is that better? Much better.
So why don't you take a picture with me?
Okay, I will. That looks frighteningly like a football. I can tell it's a disaster. Okay. Did I mention it in the thing? Yeah. I did. I will take a picture with it. Actually, I like what you're doing. Well, if you would just like,
We'll keep this
yeah,
secret.
yeah. We can even put it here. Yeah. Okay, let's do Tom. Okay.
I
We can sit down. You want to sit down?
it's okay.
Okay.
One more.
I like to think of her as my alter ego. If I had another persona, it would be Melissa Errico, because as a dancer, you're silent and you're supposed to be, doing the positions and everything. But to connect to that kind of passion that she has and she embodies is something I dream of still when I dance. And I met her and fell in love immediately, and I had the pleasure of teaching 2 of her daughters. So that's the connection. And so yes, I have a girl crush. I'm not gonna lie. I think at least 3. And she actually was extremely instrumental when they did a gala for me at Manhattan Youth Ballet. She coached and prepared my daughter, who's a actress, theater, singer, dancer, and she sang Embraceable You while 2 of my students danced the pas de deux, and so I just sat there and sobbed. But that was yeah. We've been talking for a long. It was filmed, but we were talking for years about doing something together, and so we're still working on it. What to do about being women, about what it's like to be a woman and an artist, and fitting into and separating out from the world where we're inhabiting. She's
Just when you think things are, smoothing out.
Oh no, oh no.
It's like.
But she connected me to some things that I felt as a dancer in her voice and in the way she sings, and I'm grateful for that. I treasure it.
It's like she doesn't hit a bad note.
No, it's
Her voice
and
is literally hypnotic.
the breath that's and how it floats. It's dancing. She dances.
She does. I love
You know?
watching her
Right.
her like moving back and
Right.
forth, getting into
Absolutely.
the lyric.
When I dance, I think I can sing.
Yeah.
As my daughter says, no, you cannot. But it's reciprocal. It's that beautiful connection that the 2 of us have to the arts.
That's wonderful.
Yep. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Melissa Errico and Sondheim and Barbra Streisand. Well, it's synonymous.
Holy Trinity.
It's a holy trinity. And when Barbara did the Broadway album, I fell in love with Sondheim, and then I had nowhere to go. I had nowhere to go after that, and I said, God, I don't know. Maybe I was just too busy trying to be married, so I missed a lot of Broadway. But then enter Melissa Errico, and she brought me back to Sondheim, and she got me so close to, as Barbara did, and it's in my veins, as it is Melissa's veins. And we met in 2015, and I went to see her at the Irish Rep, and we've been friends ever since. And it was really great. I made her a T-shirt and everything. It was great. So I love her dearly, and she is Sondheim to me. So and I love her. I love her dearly.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Best looking guy in the audience.
Thanks again.
Nice to see you, Steve. Thank you. Hi, friend. Hi. Oh, you're good. Take your bow.
Thank you very
This is
much.
our fabulous photo. Oh my gosh. I know. I met her actually. I met her at the that Forest Club. She's my best friend too. My best friend. So good. So who do I write this to?
Oh, well,
Do I do Stephanie?
no, just give her MARA, and then there was just one I can probably do.
Do you want me to go MARA on this one?
Yes, why not?
Okay.
That's to me.
To Mara, yeah.
Yeah, MARIA.
Okay, sorry, do that. And then the other one's for someone else?
You could just,
Okay.
yeah, because I actually got the other ones from, was it Birdland, and I gave them as gifts, and I kept my own though, of course. I have like a shrine in the house. Anyway, yeah, I think we're going to go to the National Tobacco.
I wrote, do you Maria, who knows how magical New York City is, and I put in parentheses, you are part of the magic.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank
You
you.
are. You're one of those women who makes the town great. You know?
She should have seen me in traffic about 40 minutes ago when I was late to get here. There was magic going on in that taxi cab.
Four-letter magic.
That's really nice.
That's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
So good. And then just my name?
Yes, and
Okay.
then I'll keep one.
Just my name?
Yes.
My letter H.
You've got
Mine
four,
back here.
so I'm going to give you 4 signed copy
thank you.
stickers.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sue. And then I have these two, of course, and then one with your signature, and then I'll keep one as well.
So one just signature. Got it.